If the Dow Jones hits below 18,000, it will be in the danger zone, according to the Elliott wave theory. Based on a simple identification of what has gone on in recent years, the stock market is in a perpetual state of fluctuation in anticipation of QE. Quantitative easing is the new wealth. It is magical. It defies gravity. It puts the twinkle in your eye. QE is single-handedly responsible for the sun and the moon, and also fluffy kittens. But then again, you came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. Today we'll talk about the stock market. I also want to talk about the election that's going on, some interesting things that have occurred. As you look at this article out of CNBC, U.S. stocks fell on Thursday but closed well off session lows as investors digested weak data out of China, rising oil prices, while assessing the possibility of a Federal Reserve rate hike. We all know the talk of that, what comes of that. So you have these three things, basically the Federal Reserve, oil prices, and China, causing a little bit of instability. And also adding to that, there's actually a little video clip that they show here in this article talking about the fact that there are some jitters, as they call them, with the election. So people are a little unsure where things are going to go. So of course that would have effect on the stock markets, but we'll have to see exactly what's going to happen in a longer term, or we should say mid-term scenario with that. The Dow Jones Industrial Average dropped 184 points at its lows before closing about 45 points lower, and it broke below the 18,000 mark, hit its lowest level since July. So 18,000 is a significant number because, you know, if it goes just a little bit below that, I think it's 17,992. According to the Elliott wave theory, we are in for a crash. I can't say that that's the case. I covered it in my last video. But either way, for those who are into the technical analysis, 18,000 is significant. It didn't close below that, but it did hit below that. So that's interesting to note. It felt to me like we got a little overextended on the downside earlier today, and it goes on to some other garbage. Basically saying that don't worry, everything is fine. People acted a little strangely, and now everything is doing just well. Well, what I would say is that we need to just trace it back since the so-called ending of QE3. What has the stock market done? And, you know, you look at it at any given time. Sometimes it's higher, sometimes it's around the same. You know, it's a fluctuating system that's, I've been noticing anyway, over these past few years. It goes up, it goes down, and it seems for, you know, to be a different reason all the time. Okay, it's oil prices today, it's China tomorrow, it's the election the next day. And to me, it doesn't really matter on such a frivolous sort of surface level as we see it all. We need to really dig deeper and understand what it all means. And connected in with that is this. Citigroup on Tuesday posed an unspeakable question. Will a political storm sweep Federal Reserve Chair Janet Yellen after the election that will force her to quit before her term ends in 2018? Are they going to get rid of Janet Yellen? Has she been successful in her task at what they, I guess, giving a lot of money to bankers? That's really the task. And I don't think she has, personally, because she hasn't gone negative. Prior to becoming the chair, she actually said that, and I've mentioned it so many times on the channel, but what she said was that if she were able to go into the negative, if that was seen as a positive thing to do, if going negative was positive, if that makes any sense, then she would vote for that. And we haven't seen that yet. And that's really where I see it coming, because you need to completely destroy the currency. That is the ultimate goal for these so-called leaders. And they need to be able to punish every single citizen using the currency. The financial system is used as an enslavement tool. And that's what's happening. But Janet Yellen has not done a good job of that yet. We need QE4. We need the taps to run completely open and destroy everything in its path. They're talking about, who would replace Janet Yellen, if it was Trump or if it was Hillary. I don't know who it's going to be. To me, it doesn't even matter, because as long as the Federal Reserve is around, you know what their task is. And that is to print money, give it to banks, and steal wealth from the middle class. Then we go into what's happening with the elections here. And because of Infowars.com, with their contest of giving people either $1,000 or $5,000, depending, wearing a Bill Clinton rape t-shirt, getting it on TV, and this individual got beaten up as a result of just being there with what is his freedom of speech. And this individual is shown what you do when you go to speak your freedom, speak your truth. There are others there who are unable to handle that. Sometimes those others are affiliated or part of the government. Perhaps they wear a uniform. Other times it's this cult-like craze of individuals following and bowing down to leadership, so-called leadership, whether it's in a political environment, whether that is in the workplace, I've seen so many times, or whether it is in a different form for celebrities. People just attach themselves to so-called higher levels of people here, and it's really sad. And this right here, if you watch the clip, it's sad to see that, because this individual, he's wearing his t-shirt, he's speaking his mind. I'm sure maybe he was saying some loud things, I couldn't tell, but it doesn't excuse anybody from, having to start a fight. It doesn't make any sense. It's not the way you get your message across, whether it's on either side. This right here is talking about James O'Keefe. James O'Keefe, for those who don't know, Project Veritas, immediately a legend. This individual, because of what he did, he went through both borders, the Canadian border and the Mexican border, came across into the US and made, sort of silly videos about it, how easy it was. And this individual has been releasing all kinds of information, and they have been playing games with him. And you can see right here, Russ Feingold, the former Democratic senator, said he was recorded at a fundraiser saying that Hillary Clinton might issue an executive order on guns. He caught that on tape, basically saying that, look, they can do some executive orders and get this to happen. And they want background checks, right? That's what they keep claiming. They want background checks for people purchasing guns. It's funny because that will be sort of the executive order, or maybe they'll pass a law and they'll say you got to do background checks. They're going to call it background checks. That'll be the name of the law, background checks, all right? And then you look at it, you flip through it, and it's got all this strange things, like all of a sudden, okay, well, it's not just background checks, it's also restriction of ammunition. Oh, wait a minute, and there's, some sort of financial regulation in here where millions of dollars have to go out of people's banks and into the hands of the bankers. Like, just this strange things. Agriculture laws all of a sudden make their way in. It's crazy, because you look at something like the Patriot Act, you think, well, it says Patriot Act, it's it's for the country, it's good for the country, and actually it's just a way for the government to have surveillance on citizens. And this is the type of thing that always happens. And they sneak in these very, very strange things into these bills as they get passed. And of course, they get passed because the individuals in the Congress and the Senate don't have time to read them, yet they are pressured to sign them. And of course, that's what they do. Moving on quickly. After releasing 2 viral videos over the last 2 days, James O'Keefe was no longer allowed to access his Twitter account. He has blocked. And that's for a 12-hour period, basically. And of course, the reason this happened was because it was starting to go viral. This information was starting to spread. And I'm surprised it was only for 12 hours. I guess they did it with let's say to test, sort of a beta test, how much can we get away with. But it's just bringing more and more attention to him, so I don't know why they would even bother. O'Keefe released a video on Tuesday showing the Manhattan Democratic Election Commissioner admitting voter fraud does indeed exist. On Wednesday, O'Keefe released another video. Shows a male Hillary Clinton staffer stating to be fired, I would have to grab, this and that, and basically saying he would have to harass people to get fired. And it goes on. And what we have here is, and he's caught it so many times, election fraud happening. And this is the kind of deal that we have to be exposed to and understand that, look, ultimately, on any side of the fence, there could be election fraud. That could very well happen. It happened in 2012. It happened in 2008. And, as the years go on, I think it's becoming more and more prominent. But have no fear, because the robots are here. No more humans. Foxconn deploys 40,000 robots in China. And, all these individuals working at Foxconn, they are disgruntled employees. They are jumping to their deaths, committing suicide because of the harsh conditions, because of the morale. And ultimately, they're no longer needed because 40,000 robots will be taking their place. And these robots, they don't need a bed to sleep in. They definitely don't have any health care. They don't have any sort of wage. They are just robots working 24/7. They will output in these factories. They will output at a higher rate. They will have less errors. And they will not ask for days off. They will not call in sick or anything else. They will displace factory jobs. Maybe some would say that's a good thing. I, however, disagree. I think that it is, in many cases, a relatively well-paying job instead of the retail sector, which is what many people are turning to. Not just in China. I'm sort of focusing everywhere. And another robot. This robot will rake your leaves, cut the grass, and shovel the snow. Of course, this is a small scale, but this is being applied even, I believe, a lot of farm equipment is getting automated as well. So you're seeing this on a commercial level. You're seeing it on the residential, where we have where you would have, let's say, a gardener taking care of this. Now you can have a robot taking care of it. Or you have a farmer, now you have a robot taking care of it, or you had a bunch of farmers and you only need one or something like this, where it's just slowly but surely replacing jobs. Now, you as an individual need to stay ahead of the curve. So what will you do? Well, you're going to, get your degree and start becoming an engineer to work with all these robots, I guess. But a lot of people don't have that luxury. A lot of people are, they have bills, they have a family, perhaps they just got laid off. They don't have the luxury of taking time off, going to school, becoming an engineer, getting a job to work for some automation company and then living happily ever after. That's not an option for a lot of people, so it just seems a little unrealistic. What I would say is that what is happening is not good for the future in terms of jobs, in terms of the unemployment rate. That's what I'm trying to highlight. Your opinion on robotics and automation and everything else, let's leave that aside for a moment. All I'm saying is directly, robots come into the workforce, jobs are lost as a result. If you found this video informative, please give me a thumbs up. Last but not least, if you found the video informative, I know you'll find my book, The Money GPS, even more informative. Head over to Amazon. There's a look inside feature that's going to allow you to flip through the pages of the book so you can actually see if you like it. Take care. If you're still here and if you've read my book, The Money GPS, please do me a favor, go over to Amazon and review the book. Just put a quick little snippet, just say great book, good book, whatever you want to say. Give it a fair review, give it how many stars you think it deserves. Of course, I would appreciate a 5, and just say a few things. It really helps me out a lot because people go there, they see, should I buy the book? Let me see what other people are thinking, and they really rely on that, I believe. So if you could help me out, just go to Amazon, write a quick little thing, even if it's 1 or 2 words. I would really appreciate that very much. Thank you.